Good day. It is great to be with you here this morning or whenever you're watching this. I have a few things I kind of want to share today, focused on, again, the major population we serve of homelessness or those living in poverty. And I want to give a shout out this morning. I had great coffee at the Greenhouse Biloxi and one of their amazing biscuits, and I would encourage you to support them as they support us. So I'd like to share just a really brief reflection that came back from our last Candid Conversation. And this isn't from the desk of the executive director. This is Sarah and Kevin behind the camera with a Candid Conversation just recently. And a friend of mine back in Phoenix sent this message, said, "Wow, that Candid Conversation is absolutely beautiful. Eye-opening, compassionate, heartwarming, and tear-generating. I had never thought about the transition and the support one needs as they move from being unsheltered, unhoused, to housed. If it is not too intrusive, it'd be nice to hear periodically how she's doing. Let her know she's in my prayers. Sarah, you are amazing. It is not just the work you do, it is how you do the work. Your comment about making it, quote, feel like home with some Easter decorations demonstrates your beautiful heart. Thank you and everyone else at Back Bay Mission for doing this life-changing, giving, and affirming work." And I thought, what a positive message, right? That somebody said that the folks here at Back Bay are doing giving, life-giving, affirming, life-changing work, and that's really what we're about here. But what I want to share a little bit is a bit about the story that's going to happen for one of the upcoming Candid Conversations. Sarah, who's case manager, she works as our Home at Last case manager, also outreach worker. She happened to run into a gay young adult the other day who had been kicked out of his house by his parents because he was gay or identified as queer. Now, back in the day, I had run a shelter that was called Pathfinders in Milwaukee and a street outreach program called Street Beat that focused primarily on what we at least called homeless, runaway, and throwaway youth. And this obviously, this young man that Sarah met would have been a throwaway youth who, because he was thrown away or thrown out of his house, became homeless. Sometimes these are couch hopping individuals. And I remember after my sister got married, the home life in Chicago got a little bit more intense, especially with my father. And I decided it was best for me to go on the run. And so I spent some time couch hopping and actually lived with my Aunt Annabelle just to feel safe. And I want to share some statistics around homeless youth, and especially LGBT or queer identified youth, as this young man that Sarah met out on the streets identified, that they have 120% higher risk of being homeless compared to youth who identify as heterosexual or cisgender. And a recent report also found that 1 in 30 youth from the ages of 13 to 17 that identify as LGBTQ or queer experience some form of homelessness over a 12-month period, and 1 in 10 young adults ages 18 through 25 experience a form of homelessness over the last 12-month period who identify as queer. I think it's amazing when you consider these findings, right? And findings estimate that almost 40% of the total homeless youth out on the streets at any given time are a part of the LGBTQ population, and they really only make up 5 to 10% of the population in general. And I'm always curious what some of the issues are, right? Now, we know that other young adult populations that are at risk for being homeless disproportionately are Black and African American youth, Hispanic, or what we call now Latinx youth. They have really high rates of homelessness. And also white youth that are from economically challenged families, and also unmarried parenting youth. But why especially do LGBT or Q identified youth experience in homelessness at such a high rate? Most of it's about family conflict, right? Family conflict, or LGBT youth in particular, conflict over their their sexual orientation or their gender identity. And right now, especially in the news cycle, right, we're hearing so much about bathrooms, gender-specific bathrooms, and only using the bathroom of your assigned birth gender. And we're also hearing about the young girls in sports that are identifying as trans, right? That they should not, if they're trans, male to female, they shouldn't be allowed to play in sports. And those only, I think, add to the difficulties and challenges that queer youth experience. And I think the needs of a youth that identify as LGBT are really not any different from another homeless youth or a youth that's been kicked out of his home or her home. They need a roof over their heads, right? They need to know they're loved, that they're cared about, that somebody has compassion for them, especially if you're kicked out of your home and you have this sense that your parents don't really care and that your parents don't really value or appreciate your experience or how you identify in life. And so again, I think the needs of the LGBTQI youth or queer identified youth are really no different than the general population of youth that go on the run. Now here at Back Bay Mission, we don't see a great number of youth that are experiencing homelessness or unsheltered. And I think part of it is because youth that are experiencing homelessness or unsheltered tend to meld into the culture and into the society, and they tend to not come to shelters. They tend not to access those services on a fear of the other, or fear that they're going to be found out, or fear that they're going to be put back into the home, maybe their home of birth, maybe even their foster home, where they're experiencing some challenges and some pain and potentially some abuse. And so I think it's really, really important to know that. We do have a new agency here called STEPS that actually has recently opened a drop-in center similar to our drop-in center for individuals and youth that are identified between the ages of 14 through 24. If you're interested in knowing more about that, you can go on their website, on the STEPS website. But we'll partner with them to provide services. And so in upcoming Candid Conversations, you're going to hear a candid conversation with this young homeless individual that identifies as gay, and Sarah and potentially myself having a conversation with him and helping him unpack that for you so that you're educated, you're more aware, so that we're all more aware, right, about homelessness and what homeless young adults need. But I think in general, I think it's really important, and I think what my friend from Phoenix shared about that particular candid conversation about the young woman who was now in housing is really profound and powerful, because what people need is they need love and they need compassion. They need somebody that shows them that they care, right? That's so critical and so very important. It's something I want. It's something you want. It's something Kevin behind the camera wants. We want to know that we're valued, that we're appreciated, that we're loved, and that our life matters to the people around us and to our culture and to our society. So that's really, for me, the message I'd like to leave with you today is let people know today that you care about them, that you love them, that they're important to you. If potentially you run into somebody that's panhandling or homeless, whether they're young or they're old, just look into their eyes and smile, and if you don't have any resources to give them, but just wish them a good day. Because I think that human contact, that human touch of a good word, of a merciful word, of a gracious word can be really important. Especially during this time of COVID, right, when we're all feeling just a bit more isolated from each other. So for me today, that seems to be the message that has really surfaced, because I try to stay very connected to the staff and what's happening with the work they do out in the field, and really wanted to comment about that beautiful candid conversation that was filmed. And so next week, potentially, talk a little bit about intersectionality and the intersections between the environment, because Earth Day is going to be next week, and poverty. And so those intersections and connections between poverty and between our environment. So thank you for joining me today, and share this with other folks if you would. And if you want to reach out to us here at Back Bay and send us a gift or just send us a hello, please do that either through the Facebook or through our email, or give us a call and let us know you appreciated this. So thank you and have an awesome day.